phenomenon. I culturally identify as a West Village girly. There's like literally 200 people in line over here to get fucking pizza. It's like, what the fuck? There's no way there's pizza that good. The West Village is like Disney. It's like, I don't know. New York has become Disneyland or something, and like, this is like the most popular neighborhood sort of attraction. And in any case, there's a few things. I just wanted to jump on, and I don't have that much battery, so I don't know how long this will be. I thought this would be a little mini cast. Just because I wanted to get on and updates and just drop some. Okay, so one thing I did want to talk about is I was walking through Central Park yesterday before the open mic on my way, and these guys, I was like probably down by like 96th Street. I didn't want to walk, because I like to. It was a nice day, so I like to enjoy walking through the park a little bit before I go to the open mic. And so I'm walking over by 96th Street, and these guys got golf clubs. The enemy is in the house. The call is coming from inside the house. Cinematography in this is second to none. On location shooting. Same streets as Sex and the City. So these two guys are sitting on a fucking bench, and they're like, yo, can we interview you? Do you want to be interviewed? I'm like, sure. I've never done this before, believe it or not. I've never actually participated in any kind of TikTok on the street interview in Washington Square or anywhere. I've never been, other than just like when sort of randos come into this, and I like sort of incorporate them into the live stream, the stream of consciousness, the wave, the cruise, and so clams. They call them clams in music. They call them clams. No clams. So yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'll fucking, sure, why not? I don't know. I think I had just gotten high, and these guys saw me. Well, I was wearing my suit and shit, because I was going to the open mic, so I had my orange plaid triple button. It's a nice piece. It's a woman's blazer, but I think it works. I don't really, gender my clothing that way. Clothing's clothing, Here we have Bookmark, the Mark Jacobs bookstore. So anyway, so yeah, I sit down with these two guys on the bench, and they've got a fucking camera, set up in front, and I'm kind of liking walking by. I mean, there's like really not very many people in Bleecker Park today, which is like kind of nuts, considering there's just 200 people in line to get fucking pizza. There's nobody in Bleecker Park somehow, so I'll sit here for a minute and do my little cast until somebody comes up and tries to sit down or something. So anyway, yeah, I sit down with these two guys on the bench, and he gave me his fucking sticker. Of course, they had a sticker with the QR code and fucking, I forget what the hell it was, but the guy was just talking about how you know, everything he does like provocative humor. It's like racial humor. A lot of people think it's racist. I think he was Dominican or something. I think he said he's from East Harlem or something. And, or maybe Washington Heights or something. And it was two guys. One guy had like that kind of like super precise like facial hair thing with like this kind of like digitally kind of like gradient like like angled like triangular like chin beard thing. He was saying they do jump scares. He does jump scare videos. And he's like, dude, he tried to do this fucking jump scare video in I think it was in Harlem or something. So he did this jump scare. He said this guy attacked him with a knife. He was gonna attack his buddy with the knife, and so he did this jump scare to get his attention. The guy came after him and slashed he showed me his fucking arm. He had this gnarly ass scar. I mean, it was like purple. And he's like, I almost bled out. This guy hit the artery. Or he almost hit the artery. It's like, Jesus Christ. To make jump scare videos. I'm not a fan of jump scare videos. Let me just go on. He said they're on everything. They're on Twitch. They're on YouTube. You know, they were, I don't know, relatively friendly guys. But you could tell they had this. I mean, is this where the fascism is going to start on live streams? I mean, it's fucking crazy how live streams are like the brown shirts. Like, live streams are the fucking Gestapo. Somehow, like, the right wing has harnessed this fucking power in a way that, like, the left wing, I mean, hasn't quite. Even though we're trying. We're fucking trying. So anyway, he was asking me what I do and blah, 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 and where I was going. And I was like, oh, I host this open mic, and it's Bob Dylan night. And he's like, what's your favorite Bob Dylan song? I said, Lenny Bruce. And then he's like, hey, let me sing you something, and then you guess what artist it is. Like, how good, do you think you can guess the artist based on what I... And so he sings this thing, and it's all about, like, it's like animal fucking, and there's, like, all these animal noises in it and shit. But just from kind of the way he sang it, it's like, it was sort of like... And so he went on for a while. He had a nice voice. He was a pretty good singer. And he sang this thing, and it was pretty funny. He did a good job. And as he's done, he's like, do you know who it is? And I'm like, that's got to be R. Kelly. And they're like, oh, my God, how did you get that? It's like, it was pretty obvious. It was like this super horny fucking, like, gospel, vocal about, like, going to the jungle and having sex like monkeys and making animal noises and shit. And he makes the animal noises. It reminded me of that R. Kelly thing where he's doing Get Your Passport. I don't know if people have seen that video. It's all about, he's trying to encourage underage girls to join him in Africa. So he's singing. It sounds like I Believe I Can Fly or whatever. R. Kelly has a very distinct sound. The choice, I've seen some of the, for white hipsters before Me Too and all of that, in the 2000s, like R. Kelly was like kind of an icon, to be honest. I wasn't that into R. Kelly that much, but every fucking like cool PBR drinking, like Carabar, fucking Bourbon Street kind of Rivari Room karaoke person was like indie sleaze, as they're marketing it now. They all thought Trapped in the Closet was like the greatest thing ever, because it had this outsider artist insanity, and it just like went on, and it was genius, to be honest. Like R. Kelly is like a fucking incredible talent, even though he like, fucking enslaves women to like, pee on and all this shit. There was a Chappelle's Show skit about it. Chappelle's Show was as much a part of indie sleaze as anything. Or white people culture. I'm Rick James, bitch. All of that shit. There's a reason why Dave Chappelle, that elevated Chappelle to like A plus generational. Not that he was, he was always the funniest comedian in a way, or one of them, but Chappelle's show just launched him into the fucking, like, he made something that just, like, affected everybody. Every white person loved I'm Rick James bitch or whatever. And I don't know. It was generational in a certain way. So anyway, yeah, I guessed on the first try that it was R. Kelly. It was not hard. I've seen a good amount of Trapped in the Closet, not to be like a pro art, but this guy's like, he's like, I'm an R. Kelly sympathizer or something. He's an R. Kelly, like, so you could tell the guy was like super anti-woke, super like right-wing, insult comedian, jump scare. Like, for fucked up reasons, people like to watch sadism, I guess. They like to watch people being threatened or put into situations that are like uncomfortable or make them spaz. I don't know. It just seems like a lot of the Trump era kind of politics and the internet has unleashed like elementary school behavior. Like, I do remember all of this kind of behavior from my human experience, but I remember it from like fucking second grade and shit. This is the way people behaved in school. I guess there were always bullies, and the bullies kind of develop into sociopaths, or they learn how to be bullies as adults. I don't really think it was advantageous to go to like public school, to be honest. I think you should just be around your parents. Your parents should teach you everything. Or like, I don't know, you should be with your fucking parents. You shouldn't be with like all these fucking random sadists, bully fucking psychos, but generally that behavior kind of gets ironed out by adulthood, or those people get sort of like ostracized into like, I don't know. I guess they serve their purpose in society. They're, in the army, or they're fucking, God knows what they do. They're fucking used car dealers or crypto. They're all in the stock market. They're marketing energy drinks. They're UFC fighters. They wear affliction T-shirts. They're roofers. They're contractors. A lot of them are like the builders, I guess. They're not libtard poetry professors, They're like on a roof, like with a nail gun, watching, Rob Schneider movies and Shane Gillis and, Theo Vaughn. And I don't know. Not that they're bad people per se. They're watching college football. They're watching the, what is it? The Knicks, right? The Knicks are doing awesome. So it was an interesting conversation. I don't know. Like, the guy was saying a lot of stuff that, like, there's a type. These are a type. This is one of the things that I've encountered in New York since my time back after the pandemic that I've been really surprised by. Everybody I run into who's like a YouTuber or whatever is like a right-wing psycho. They're all like RFK Jr. level. Rogan is like a fucking, philosopher to them. Rogan is like Plato to these fucking, and they've been weirdly, this guy's got, supposedly he had 4,000 YouTube subscribers. That's a shitload more than I have. That's 10 times more than I have. Explain that one to me, God. How does this fucking guy, the jump scare YouTuber, so I don't know. I sat there and it's like I'm just absorbing, this guy's information. And I was trying to be friendly. I wasn't anticipating this. It's in Central Park. When the guy said he wanted it, I guess he could see that I would be nice to him or something. He didn't jump scare me. He didn't do anything to me. I sound like Bill Maher. I sound like Bill Maher with Trump. He was nice to me. Well, I don't know. He didn't do anything like troll. He didn't troll me. You know, he didn't like insult me or anything to my face. And I told him about the open mic. I asked him if he'd done stand-up comedy. And like I predicted, he reminded me of this dude I met in Washington Square who was like he worked on a nuclear reactor. But he was in the fucking Air Force or whatever. Or, you know, he was at the high level, I think it was the Marines or something. But he was really smart, but he was like, I don't know, he was kind of fucked in the head. He was probably traumatized, you know? And, God, there's just so much to talk about today. And so he's like, oh, I've never done stand-up comedy, but I want to try it. And he's like, maybe I'll come to your open mic and try it. And I'm like, yeah, man. He's like, can I say whatever I want? Are people going to get offended? Because I'm like a free speech absolutist, you know? Like, I think we have to say whatever the fuck we want to say. And, like, you can turn it off. That's what Vince McMahon basically said. You turn it off. If you don't like it, if you don't want your kid watching it, turn it off. It's like, it's not that fucking easy. Every kid wants to watch WWF Attitude Era fucking Stone Cold Steve Austin shit. You know, it's like you're making an enemy out of the parents for making them turn it off. They're alienating people from their children with their sadistic programming. And I don't know, maybe that shit has always worked on video. That's a part of the voyeurism, you know, violence, I guess, is part of what works on film. Is it human to observe, I don't know, scenarios of potential threat just for, you know, the memory banks and kind of our own reference experience, so we have that, you know, if God forbid. So anyway, I don't know. He gave me his fucking... I don't think I got any subscribers from it. He said it wasn't a live stream. It was like they were filming it and they were going to edit it. So I hope my R. Kelly moment. I mean, I got it right away. It was so obvious that it was R. Kelly. It only could have been R. Kelly. Yeah, so now, okay, I guess this is an abrupt change of subject, but we do have to talk about the greatest poet, the greatest living poet passing away. We do have to talk about Alice Notley. Rest in peace, Alice Notley. You know, a giant of world literature. Should have won the Nobel Prize. Should have won the Nobel Prize. But somebody that you're just always reading. You know, there's just so much. And it's so, I mean, there's so much wisdom. You know, there's just all this stuff that comes through that stays with you and just like, you know, there's phantoms of stuff that you don't even know you're absorbing. That just like, and there's so many, I mean, I've talked about Alice Notley on the stream before, you know, just like there's all of these books like Negativity's Kiss, and I was reading Descent of Owlette, which takes place entirely in the subway. It's an amazing, you know, it's intimidating because it has all those quotation marks. The whole book is in these fucking, like every couple words is like in quotation marks. So it's kind of, when you first see it, you're like, this is so aggravating. Like, how am I going to read this? Everything has goddamn quotation marks. Everything has quotation marks. So it kind of, but it that's what it needs to create this kind of like halting effect. Like a train, like a subway train, you know? It's like the cars kind of come in with different numbers of people and they come at different intervals and there's a halt, stop and start, and a kind of like a coffin claustrophobia to it as well. You know, it's like you're boxed in. And so we're fighting the war between intelligence and crudity. I guess that's all of human nature. I was just reading this Alice Notley. I got this selected down. She's talking about guys from Needles, where she's from in California, which is like the desert. Like, they like crude humor. They like jokes about defecation and sexist humor. There was some joke in it about women. I forget what it was. You know, Alice Notley doesn't shy away from that stuff. She was not an academic. She made a point to be just a poet. You know, just like a 24-hour-a-day job, 24/7, 365 fucking poetry. And she lived it, man. You know, she just was writing these fucking books and books and books and books. And there's such a fucking body of work there that's going to live forever. It's like Shakespeare or something. You know, it's like there's the 37 fucking plays and there's all, you know, there's all these fucking giant body of work for Alice Notley. Like that's a fucking admirable and kind of heroic, honestly. It is heroic. Fucking lifestyle in the 21st century when everybody, even Bob Dylan's sharing AI fucking videos on Instagram. I mean, Alice Notley's Instagram was genius. That should come as no surprise, I guess. But those drawings with the fucking flowers and the words, I mean, that book is incredible. Runes and Chords or whatever it is from Archway. Those Alice Notley fucking Instagram poem paintings are like works of genius. Maybe poems are meant to be paintings. I don't know. Maybe every poem is meant to be like on a fucking painting. In fucking like, you know, acrylic or whatever. Oil. Those Rene Ricard poem paintings were incredible. And our friend has Alice Notley's one known painting on his wall, and it's incredible. It's an incredible painting. And so it's like, she was a genius and a fucking kind of unrecognized, you know. So she wrote too far ahead of the curve, you know. It wasn't corny, conservative, old-fashioned shit. It was very direct. It was very innovative, very experimental. Every fucking book was a concentrated, like, concept. A lot of them were sort of concepts, you know, or like, you know, they're a lot of them are like novels, science fiction, horror. I'm sure Samuel R. Delany is a big influence. So there's genre, but it's all poetry, you know, so it's you can stand the genre. You know, the genre is not like annoying. It's not like ham-boned by the fucking genre. It's like she's writing poetry, but it's like Negativity's Kiss is this kind of noir, but it's like she puts a Bob Dylan character, you know, she puts her own life, you know, she puts Ted Berrigan in, will just come in and sort of say something, you know, or figures from her own past. But it's still, you know, a noir and a detective piece and a whodunit and all that. But then there's Mysteries of Small Houses, which is, I mean, you got to get Mysteries of Small Houses. And I was at Book Culture about a month ago, and the thing about Book Culture on 1/12 is like they have remainder copies. So sometimes you can find good shit brand new for like $8. So I like Book Culture. They have an amazing section upstairs. They've really organized it well. And it's the Columbia bookstore, so there's used stuff. So it's like, I was in there about a month ago, and I found this recent Alice Notley book being reflected upon, which is sort of like Disobedience and sort of like Mysteries of Small Houses, in that it's like a sort of a memory piece, or I don't know. I guess it was her tracking. She said she was looking at her notebooks from 2000 to 2017 to see if anything happened. So there's a lot of that history in there, 9/11 and the wars, and but then there's personal reminiscences, once again, living in Paris, or things about Ted Berrigan or her sons, or you know, St. Mark's Place or whatever. Needles, her family, her dad was like in Vietnam, I think. And so I found this book being reflected on at Book Culture. It was $7.98, but I didn't buy it because I was like, I don't have the money. I gotta move. Like, there's no way I can buy another fucking book. I just can't bring any more goddamn books into my life. I got 40 boxes of shit I gotta move. And where am I even gonna put it? I'm not even gonna be able to look at it. I'm sick of moving these fucking books everywhere, you know? But I need them, you know? It's like, that's the fucking tools of the trade. And so I'm like, I can't buy this fucking Alice Notley book, you know? I just can't. Not now. It's just going to go into a box and I'm never going to fucking see it again. Or I'm not going to see it for 6 months, or God knows, you know, hopefully soon. But anyway, I think something happened in between, and Well, it was our anniversary, right? So I was like, well, I need to get Ashley an anniversary present. So, like, obviously, this is the perfect present, you know? It's thoughtful. It's something that, like, she needs, she could use. And, you know, I know where to get it and blah, blah, blah. And so I went back and I bought it a couple weeks ago, probably about 2 weeks ago or something. And gave it to Ashley for our anniversary being reflected upon. And it's Penguin Poets. It's an amazing book. You know, it's just like she doesn't fuck around with all the highfalutin bullshit. You know, she's got that kind of, like, I don't know, Western. You know, that's a hard place full of hard people. It's like Cormac McCarthy country. You know, it's like literally Death Valley almost. Needles is like the first city in California. It's like it's like right on the border. That's what I remember it from, is like when you're driving the 10 or whatever it is, when you see this Needles on the sign, that basically means how far you are to California. And so there's a little bit of that kind of Richard Avedon West, you know. But I mean, you know, just deep, deep earth wisdom. But it's not like new agey in that way, you know. It's just like even this Descent of Alette book. There's tons. It's super relevant now. It was written like in the 90s, and it's like all about like autocracy and dictator, and people have to live underground and shit. It's like, it's just like the ultimate book to read right now. And so Alice Notley was like a deep psychic force for the planet. And I mean, it's crazy because her life feels like it was so, not that I know, you know, I'm just speaking through as like a reader, you know, and like a whatever I've learned from, you know, just resources and shit. But there's been a lot of, you know, loss. You know, Ted Berrigan died. Her second husband died, Douglas Oliver. I think her brother or her dad or something, you know, was like in the Vietnam War, and that really was not fun, or, you know, that was not good for, you know, I think it really was, you know, traumatizing. And so the strength to live through all that and write all these books and create this fucking unstoppable oeuvre, you know, just this giant monument of language, and just be focused on that when everybody else is, oh, I'm a filmmaker, I'm making music, I'm a SoundCloud rapper, I'm a stand-up comedian, I'm an open mic host, I'm a live streamer, I'm a vlogger, I'm a playwright. You know, it's like Alice Notley is kind of the purest example of doing all of that stuff within poetry and being a pure poet. I got to get that Song Cave book, the essays. I really want to read that. And, I mean, just what an essential resource thought, you know, was against the MFA programs. Could totally see what a racket that was. But would come to the United States on reading tours and get to make money. What a cool life, living in Paris. One of the great Americans in Paris. One of the great expats of literature in Paris. Gertrude Stein, Ashbery, all those people, Hemingway, whatever, Alice Notley. And just getting the work done, focusing on the work. You know, I don't know, but I imagine that helped them just, you know, just write all the time. You know, living in this culture where, like, you're not necessarily, you know, you're in exile in a certain way. I think it, you know, it created all these amazing fucking, the early work, you know, these recent books that have come out that are like giant, the early works, whatever that book was, there's been a few. The fucking, what is that, benediction? It's a kaleidoscopic. And she liked Kerouac. You can see the Kerouac influences. There's that poem, Alice speaks through the imperfect medium of Jack, or Jack speaks through the imperfect medium of Alice. She embraced that side of things, and she understood the value of it. She wasn't a snob in the academy that thinks everything needs to be Oxford commas and fucking MLA style or whatever. But she went to Iowa. I think she got her MFA in fiction, actually. I don't know if they specialized back then, but I think she said she started out writing fiction and then just sort of... But I think she never stopped, in a way. I think that's what was so smart about Alice Notley. One of the many things, obviously, was like she was able to write these books that are like, Larry McMurtry or whatever, like genre pieces that are like fiction. It's just she utilized, and this is something we've been talking a lot about recently, is like, you think, oh, I need to figure out how to write a movie script, or I need to write a fucking play, and I need to figure out that format. It's like, well, just do it as a poem. It's just like we do the play as a poem. It's all in the poetry, the filmmaking, the music making, the sound, the stand-up comedy, the fucking philosophizing, the political commentary. It's all in the poem. It's all done through poetry, because that is the kind of like interface that's the autism we have. That we're autistic or something, I guess, right? Is that what it is? Everybody's so obsessed with autism now. Is that why we turn everything into writing? Everything turns into writing, everything turns into words. Is that a bad thing? That's our job. As the kind of monistic scribes, the computer readouts of experience, that's our job, is to just graphomania. Just spit it all out, chew it up, masticate it, puree it, and then spit it out into, like, guano or whatever, I don't know. It's just, it's all composting or like processing. And so, I don't know, doing that within poetry and I don't know, it's just poetry is like the shortest distance between 2 points or something. It's just like, why, that's why I get on here, because it's just like I can just create poetry directly, an hour a day or whatever it is, 40 minutes, and just say what needs to be said. I also wanted to talk about how I never came back from the pandemic, because that was the line that I did want to address, how I never came back from the pandemic, but I don't know what it means anymore. God, there's just so much. Well, there was this other thing about, I was watching this video about, how white people in America don't really know their ethnicity. Like whiteness is this kind of blanket coverall for Irish or English or French or whatever the specific kind of region of your cultural whatever heritage. And so that amnesia is part of the reason why there is this kind of ongoing genocide. And America is it's just like Israel. America is the same fucking thing. It's great Satan and it's little Satan. Where it's like it's occupied land or something. Or I don't know. I guess that's not really the... well, I think part of the reason why Israel exists as it does is because of the same kind of like, not necessarily amnesia, but like detachment and exile, where it's like, Jewish people have been persecuted and have to flee from this place to that place for thousands of fucking years. They're displaced people. And they were in Russia, and now they got kicked out of there, so they had to come here, and now they're here, and they want to go to, now so they want Israel, so they create that. But it's like, it's that separation or something. It's that disconnection or something, I think with Americans, it's like very instituted. I think they want us to just like be in the new all the time. And like, I mean, growing up in Columbus, Ohio, it's like they're, coming to New York, I didn't even really understand what I was absorbing and why I liked it. It's like I was just used to like fast food and drive-through and fucking interstate and car and TV and cable and pop culture and you don't know what you don't know. You don't know that like when you actually encounter other cultures and things like that, like it's nothing to be afraid of, but it's like there is like a familiarizing process or something, where it's like a lot of time, if you're, when you first encounter that, it's like it is, I don't know. I think Americans are not encouraged to familiarize themselves with anything other. It's like just stay in your fucking kind of like corporate consumer, go to Best Buy, go to fucking Wendy's, go to the mall, go to Easton, go to the fucking midnight launch of Halo 2, watch wrestling. Vince McMahon is brainwashing you for fascism and beating people up on your live stream. And so, I don't know. I've got 10% battery, so I'm probably going to get off soon. Or it'll just, if the stream dies, that's why. But, we covered some nice things. I never came back from the pandemic.
She can't resonate with anything. She doesn't. This is her first time doing that. And she's like, oh, wow.
Well, part of it is just my life. It's like I was anticipating when the open mic started that I was like going to reconnect with social life again and be out in sort of the night world. And I got sort of into a relationship again. And so, I went from being a homebody before the pandemic, basically for 2 years, to being a homebody during the pandemic, scared of disease, so I didn't want to really be around people too much. So when I had that apartment in Chelsea, usually I was just there by myself. The first year and a half I lived there, I literally, no one else even stepped foot in that apartment because of COVID. And then after that, it was like I went into another relationship until now, which has been very sort of homebody life. Not that there's anything wrong with that per se, but I don't know. I think that's one reason why these open mics are so important and why like people have thrown themselves into them, is just like during the pandemic, that was this unprecedented, everything canceled, everything, on a fucking Zoom. And so there was this, but at the same time, I do feel like we're weirdly traumatized and we're online and we're on our phones all the time. And so like, even though we're doing these open mics and these in-person performances and stuff, there's almost like this zombie, it's like we're already dead. It's like the rapture already happened. And I don't know. Maybe that's a cynical way to look at it. I guess that's not true, but it's like, I don't know. I don't think the pandemic has really been processed. That's something that there hasn't really been, other than Karen Finley. Karen Finley was like, obsessed. That's all she was talking about was the pandemic. But other than that, I really haven't heard, and I haven't read from I have a whole book. Selective Amnesia is my pandemic book. So I think it's something that, I don't know, needs to be kind of like, it's, like with the identity of Americans and things like that. It's like, if you don't address this stuff and grieve or whatever the hell, if you don't sit with it, if if you don't acknowledge it, at least that's what the woke people tell me. And so the pandemic, I think, is like kind of an example of that, of just like we're throwing ourselves into these in-person things. And I don't know. Like I said, my own life is this sort of like double thing where it's like I'm not really participating fully. I didn't really figure out how to get a job again. I never really figured out how to, I've just sort of like been coasting on the fumes of the stimulus and the Bidenomics and the whatever, the kindness of strangers. But I don't know. It was sort of like a cultural choke point, and I think everything has sort of been like reoriented afterwards. Like it's like the worst job market in history. It's impossible to get a job. And so, they want to punish us for working from home and getting a bunch of money. And so I don't know that anybody really has come back from the pandemic. There's a lot of businesses that went away. The West Village is full of West Village girlies, to bring it full circle. The world was changed. And who knows, the deep ways that it will stay with us. But we're going about our business almost like, nothing happened. Which is human nature. To just be like, I'm fine. Let's just get all hot and do poetry readings and, wear black leather jackets and big black boots and slay. And fuck yeah, why not? It takes a few years for the past to emulsify and for you to really figure out what the fuck was happening and what was going on, and that it's behind you. And so I think that the post-pandemic has been this big festival of the arts, and it's been fantastic. We really reignited New York with all of these open mics, and somebody should do a fucking article about just the open mic scene in New York, because it really is an amazing culture. It really is culture, and I think it's a corollary to the new kind of online culture of just like everybody being a fan of everybody else. And that's where we share in person. And it's the best way to meet people. Reading your poetry, hearing other people's poetry. It's like getting a preview of their personality. Thank you for watching, everybody. Stay woke, everybody. And we'll be back on, I don't know, maybe Thursday. I'll try to get back on Thursday. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.